everyone. So, I know I've been gone. I'm sorry about that. But I'm back here now to talk about something pretty near and dear to me. At a very early age, I was exposed to movies like many others. So, growing up, whatever I was into was focused on whatever movies I liked. So, because I grew up with Spider Man, Daredevil, Batman, and X Men, naturally, I liked superheroes. I grew up with Star Wars like so many others. I had Star Wars stuff. Power Rangers was another huge franchise I loved as a kid. Because I grew up with Top Gun, I was into planes. I had kind of an obsession with vehicles, and I cite that was probably because of Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, Transformers, since many of those films had very iconic cars. And of course, I liked video games. Many of these I still enjoy, and if you see my social media as well my channel, you know many of these I still collect. I'm still into a lot of this stuff. However, sometimes there's some things you forget that had a big impact on you when you were a kid. Sometimes I do forget that Harry Potter was a big part of my childhood because I grew up in the era when the movies got made. The Mummy movies with Brendan Fraser were some of my favorites as a kid. But one franchise I find myself remembering and kind of returning to is Jurassic Park. Dude, I watched the shit out of this movie when I was young. It is insane how much I watched this movie. I also watched the third movie a lot. The Lost World, not so much. Because of this movie, that led to my liking for dinosaurs. So now it's the 30th anniversary of the first, and so now I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for a while. And that is, what happened to Jurassic Park being scary? The reason I bring this up is because, well, we just wrapped up last year the Jurassic World trilogy. My thoughts on these movies are, well,
That is one big pile of shit.
yeah. I, like many others, am not a huge fan of the new movies. For me, they lack many elements that made the first movie so good. Now, there's a multitude of writing flaws, but I'm not here to talk about that. That's for like a big review analysis on the many failures the new movies have. Instead, I want to focus on a specific element that I think is lacking that leads to some of the problems that these new films face. You see, something that people don't really talk about when it comes to Spielberg as a director is that he's really good at filming horror. I know his reputation as a family film director, all the whimsy, childlike nature that some of his films have. I know especially now his last films have been a musical and pretty much a biopic of his own life growing up with film. So you can be a little bit forgiven for thinking that that's his MO. Because one of his most famous films is the family movie E.T. However, I really need to highlight that Spielberg got his start in the horror genre with Jaws. He genuinely did a phenomenal job at conveying the horror that sharks have, from the camera work, to the music, to the actors, and characters. All these served for a great horror experience that also did blend a little bit of action. All that for me was what made Jurassic Park a great experience and a great film. Because ultimately, these movies weren't just generic action movies. See, the problem with the new films is that they just really rely way too much on action. It feels more like a swashbuckling adventure than a truly horror experience. Now, I'm not saying they had to keep it solely horror. Plenty of franchises are able to balance horror and action. Resident Evil manages to be action and adventure while still having horror elements. That game can be legitimately scary at times. But with the Jurassic World movies, they feel more akin to Indiana Jones than Jurassic Park. Hell, Indiana Jones has more horror than the new Jurassic World movies do. Shit, most of Spielberg's other films have more horror elements. People forget there's some legitimately frightening moments in E.T. The way he makes the agents look, they're an imposing threat. Elliot's first meeting with E.T. actually scared me as a kid. And you had that with the first Jurassic Park movie. Okay, yes, you had your Spielberg whimsy moments like the famous "Welcome to Jurassic Park" scene, but there wasn't just that. Okay, we need to start somewhere. So, the first place to start. Remember when dinosaurs were scary? I know growing up, there's always the whole, oh, boys base their personality on a specific group. You either grow up with cowboys, knights, dinosaurs, or superheroes. Or in my case, you grew up with three of them. The reason I bring this up is because while, yes, we grow up thinking dinosaurs are so awesome and cool and badass, I mean, there's several toy lines, past and present, that rely on the dinosaur aesthetic. Kind of bringing it back to Power Rangers, one of the earliest ones used dinosaurs as many of the Megazords and design, and they constantly have come back to the dinosaur theme multiple times in the franchise. But we need to remember something. Dinosaurs are fucking horrifying! They are literally flesh-hungry creatures that focus only on hunting and eating. They were the sharks of land. So with this in mind, Jurassic Park the movie knows this, and as such doesn't just have the whimsy take over. They show friendly dinosaurs and the pretty wow factor of the idea of seeing dinos like a T-Rex and a raptor. But they still show that dinosaurs can still be a threat and terrifying. In the new movies, I don't get that. The new films treat dinosaurs as just another blockade in the character's way. In the first Jurassic World movie, they try to keep the same horror, but they don't do a great job at it. The biggest example is how the new movies feel like Dino Fight Club at times. In all three movies, there's at least one Dino versus Dino fight that ends up feeling like a WWE SmackDown match, bringing in the T-Rex like it's the Undertaker coming in to fight the new guy coming for his title. The third movie the movie even does this literally in the third film by showing flashbacks to the prehistoric times, showing this feud between the T-Rex and the new dino for the third film. There's occasionally a few scenes where someone is hiding from a dinosaur, but most of them are not as effective as the first. I understand that in nature there's fights between the different species, but a good example of showing that while not treating it like it's a cheesy wrestling match is the end of the first movie. Our characters are surrounded. It looks bad. Then suddenly the T-Rex comes in to eat the raptors, then you see them fight. Yeah, that was a great scene. That was done well because you saw a glimpse at what nature looked like millions of years ago instead of being a Jurassic version of a WWE pay-per-view. I'm fine with the fight in the first Jurassic World movie, but that was only because it felt like an apology for the third movie killing off the T-Rex in an underwhelming way. Two, it wasn't done a lot in the previous films. So I can understand wanting to do a proper dino fight, but then it just gets overdone by the third Jurassic World movie. The other problem is there's the whole raptor subplot that makes them less terrifying. Remember how scary they were in the first movie? In that kitchen scene that was a great scene that showed how scary raptors can be? Now listen, I understand what they're going for. Yes, it has happened when dogs used to be wild animals, but then generations of domestication has now made them to what they are now in the modern day society. However, they made raptors into borderline anti-heroes, which really removes the scare factor, for me at least. I like the idea of Blue. I think it is an interesting concept, but I think the execution made the Raptors weaker. Another factor that I highlighted earlier was the fact that these movies feel like generic action movies. Then the fantastic balancing that Spielberg did with the mixture of horror, action, adventure, and the whimsical nature of Well, nature. The new films just heavily rely on everything being bigger, more bombastic. We have Chris Pratt running from dinosaurs while escaping a volcano. Chris Pratt literally escaping lava after being tranked. Chris Pratt on a motorcycle driving away from dinosaurs in a city. The third movie is just pretty much a globe-trotting adventure movie. Like, again, something like Indiana Jones, but with Dino DNA. And again, I'm not saying they couldn't explore this idea. I mean, the movies are called Jurassic World, but again, the execution has not been good at all. I want to do some scene comparisons because I think that will help get some of my points across. So 2 scenes I want to highlight as a comparison. The first comparison is the Dennis death scene and the death scene of Fallen Kingdom's villain, who I can't even remember his fucking name. What the hell is this fucking name, actually? Hold on. Okay, but I'm highlighting these because they show how different everything has been done. So in Fallen Kingdom, they established that this guy is a big game hunter. He literally takes trophies of his hunts, so he established he's a bastard. But in this scene, they have a borderline wink at the audience with the raptor, and the way everything is filmed, it feels like I'm supposed to be rooting for his death. There's not a lot of horror to it because I'm clearly supposed to be relishing in his death. He even starts crying in the scene, which I get the idea of the big bad hunter now crying, not so tough now, huh? But it makes the scene less scary and horrific versus the Dennis Nedry scene. Now again, Dennis Nedry is not a good guy. Every death and every injury is his fault. If he didn't shut off the power, the dinosaurs wouldn't have gone out of their areas. It's his fault. So, with that in mind, yes, we all are secretly rooting for his death. But the scene doesn't film or treat it that way. Dennis's death is still filmed with horror in mind and still showcasing how scary and dangerous the dinos are. It gives the villain their comeuppance while still making it scary. This comes in the form of the Dilophosaurus. We first hear the dino and only see a little bit of it. Then we finally start to see it. But even then, it has kind of a cute appearance, but there's still that uneasiness to it. And then... everything about this scene is fantastic. To the lighting, the cinematography, the acting, it's great. Because even though you are happy to see that Dennis is dead, you still have that scare factor because we see the danger these dinosaurs can be. You have the thunder and lightning clap when you see the goo go into Dennis's eyes. Even him hitting his head is kind of funny. Let's be honest. We all kind of got a chuckle out of that one. But it does serve a purpose, showing that because Dennis hit his head, he has now lost the canister with the dino DNA. That is how you do a villain death. It also highlights the problem that they have been really taking the fear factor from the dinosaurs to make them more like, yeah, get them, kill the bad guys. Like you're supposed to be rooting for the dinos eat people instead of fearing them. Another scene that I want to highlight is the opening because, wow, what a fantastic opening it is. It starts off right. We have the music swelling. It's just a black screen with the text. Then we open up on trees being moved with a bunch of workers looking on. I don't know if this was the intention, but it feels like a fake out. Like, oh, they're waiting for the dinosaur, but then, oh no, it's a forklift carrying the dinosaur. Why did I say dinosaur like that? What the hell's wrong with me? They get everything ready, and again, we don't see the dinosaur. We just hear it. And anything shown is only in glimpses. So everything's going well until... Again, we barely see the raptor, but I love that shot where they close up on the raptor's eye and Muldoon's eye. You can feel the terror. I don't have those moments from the new one. Most of the attempts range from decent to not at all scary. The closest to feeling like a moment to the original is Vincent D'Onofrio's character. His death is kind of a bit horrific. He gets killed by one of the raptors. The way it's filmed is pretty effective. However, it still doesn't reach that level because it goes by really quick. The way everything's kind of filmed is not exactly the same way. Also, D'Onofrio's character is kind of a goofball in this one. Like he's just I think this was a matter because D'Onofrio is a fantastic actor, but I think this was just a case of the director not realizing that maybe we should take it a bit more seriously. Um, yeah, it feels much more effective in something like Men in Black when he's playing Edgar because it's an alien in a human suit. Whereas with this one, it just feels like they're just trying to make him the, that, oh yeah, we gotta have, dinos in the military, you and me as military man, we know how many casualties we lose and everything. I mean, it just, I get what the idea was, but let's be honest, most of the villains suck in the new movies. They all fucking suck. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Sorry for the small little tangent. Many of these scenes just don't hit the same level. Like I said, some are good, like the scene with the Indominus Rex looking for Pratt's character. I like that they do show the character's intelligence with him covering himself in the gasoline to mask the scent, or Jurassic World Dominion with Bryce Dallas Howard's character hiding from that feathered dinosaur. That wasn't too bad. But again, many of them don't have the same level of intensity as, say, something like Muldoon's death with the iconic clever girl line. Or one of my personal favorites is the scene where the raptors start breaking through the glass. I like how they don't show it, you just hear the chaos in the phone. Paired with John Hammond's reaction to it, it is fantastic.
Gonna come through the glass!
He deserved an award for that fucking scream. Holy shit. In contrast to the Indominus Rex scene, that starts out really cool, but then it just becomes another, oh no, dino going crazy and everything and hurting people. I firmly believe this scene would be better if they didn't show everything. You can show some portions of them being attacked, but you have that big screen with all the vitals of the guards. They should have focused on that. Let that be the horror and the focus of the scene, and also show like maybe the reactions interspliced with some of the workers and our main characters, like just essentially getting like horrified at the idea of these people dying, essentially that they've just walked into this trap by this dinosaur, by this absolutely clever and brilliant dinosaur. Also, I don't know why this scene of Chris Pratt walking into the frame makes me laugh so much. It has the most my god energy I've ever seen. But again, that's not to say it couldn't have been done or that they didn't try. I would argue you had the blueprint right there, but they just didn't do it. And I'm not saying you have to directly copy those scenes. I just feel like there's so much that went into these scenes that the new films didn't do. Also, hey, you know how I established the Dilophosaurus as a threat? Now it's pretty scary. Editing seeker here. I got the reason this portion of the video is different is because I got the details of the scene wrong. Turns out it wasn't what I thought it was rewatching the scene. It's still pretty bad though. Just the fact that Chris Pratt like actually just comes right out of nowhere and is like able to just just grabs it by the throat, they tase it, and then it just runs off. Like it's still just wow, what a great way to take such a scary creature and actually horrifying dinosaur and just making it look weak compared to like again You see everything that I had just explained about the first Jurassic Park movie, it just completely nullified now by this movie. Cool. That's great. Cool. Speaking of Chris Pratt, we now need to talk about the characters in these movies. Now, I originally was going to leave out this section, but I decided against it because I think it helps my argument even further, showcasing the major tonal shift for the franchise and how that has hurt the latest films. In the original Jurassic Park, we have quite the cast of characters. Now, most of them are not action heroes at all. They're scientists, lawyers, or kids. The closest to a traditional action hero we have is Muldoon. So, with this in mind, the new film's main characters are Owen, played by Chris Pratt. The second is Claire, played by Bryce Dallas Howard. Two very talented actors that unfortunately are stuck with very hollow characters. Now, in the first movie, you have Dr. Grant, Ellie Sadler, and Ian Malcolm. Great characters that work because of one element. They're not action heroes, they are real people. The reason I say this is because in the new films, the face of the franchise is Owen, or better phrasing, the face is Chris Pratt. Owen, as a character, feels like he should be a side character. The way Muldoon was the badass that is skilled, but now is up against a threat unlike anything else. I say this because Owen, as a character, breaks a lot of the tension. As I mentioned earlier, when describing the feats Pratt achieves in these movies, these scenes make the character feel less tangible and down to earth. Owen feels like every stock action movie badass. Compared to the previous characters who were more interesting to watch, Owen doesn't really have a character outside of being Chris Pratt, because most of his writing focuses on him training Blue or having a tumultuous relationship with Claire. The closest thing we get is when he gets a daughter in the third movie, but I'm not even going to fucking bring her up because she's not even worth it. She's a horrible character and barely even worth talking about. Dr. Grant is not that. He's very defined as a character. He doesn't know how to be a dad, but learns through the course of the movie. He's very intelligent, but most importantly, he felt like he could die at any moment. He's not like Owen, who is doing stuff that has zero tension to it because he's that good at them. So there's never a tense moment of, oh, is Owen going to get out of this one? Of course he is, because he survived all this stuff that realistically should have killed him. It works in superhero media because they're extraordinary people, but not for Jurassic Park, which heavily relied on the idea of tension and characters being in danger. A good example of a heroic action that still had great tension and maybe even possibly could lead to one of the characters dying is Ian Malcolm saving the kids in the first movie. So in that scene, Ian gets a flare so he can distract the T-Rex. We see this as a heroic action because he's buying Grant time to rescue the kids trapped in the Jeep. But we still get that fear factor because when Ian gets out of the Jeep, we see a close-up of a concerned Grant telling him to freeze so the dino won't see him. But Ian refuses and gets chased by the T-Rex. Ian is attacked by the T-Rex and flung into a building. Throughout the entirety of the second and third act, he is out of commission. We have no idea if he'll live because of his injuries. In fact, if I remember correctly, I think I heard in the book Ian dies. So again, you have that heroic set piece, but still feel a sense of danger and tension. Ian, despite his injuries, even still manages to be funny and charming.
Remind me to thank John for a lovely weekend. Think they'll have that on the tour?
Versus Owen, who does extremely dangerous things, yet barely has a scratch on him, just eliminating the tension completely from many of the action scenes. Listen, I get they wanted a face that would bring in audiences. Pratt was becoming that because a year prior to Jurassic World, he was in two beloved and money-making films, Guardians of the Galaxy and the Lego Movie. So, I get it. But I feel like you still could have Owen be a badass while still keeping the tension. Now, Bryce's character is not exactly great either because most of it is her just trying to fix her problems from the first movie. As well, arguing with Owen at times. She's the closest to being like a character from the first, but she's not a very engaging character, which is not helped that they clearly wanted to focus on Owen. There's also no Ian Malcolm type part of the group, so you have this revolving door of characters that end up not mattering. By the time we get to the third movie, the third member is just a new character that we barely know and is so shallow because she's just another action type character. Oh, great, another one! So, in the end, why did I make this video? Many will attribute that it's the 30th anniversary, but while I've had this topic on my mind, there was something that did inspire me. So there I was scrolling through YouTube and I discovered a video about Jurassic Park analog horror. Yes, there is analog horror of Jurassic Park. I'm just as surprised as you are. Now, these are not official projects. They are fan made. I just want to get that out of the way. They're not official. None of them are officially licensed by Universal. They're all created by independent creators. Now, if you've been on the internet for a hot minute, especially on the horror side like I have, you know that analog horror has been very popular. These are the new wave of internet horror, the same way creepypastas were circa 2012 to 2015. I mention this because I was very shocked to see something like this for a franchise like Jurassic Park. But then that made me realize what I've been talking about. I feel like the franchise forgot that it was scary. I look back on a lot of stuff when the original trilogy of films was released at the time. It was very clear there was meant to be a scare factor. I think back to the Lost World arcade game that I used to play as a kid. I remember the first time playing it being a little scared by the opening. The dark sky with the thunder and lightning going while the T Rex starts roaring at you. I remember the old VHS tape of the Lost World had a little feature where if you looked at the cover, like one way, it had a sign, but then you turn it the other way, then the T Rex would just burst out of the sign looking very menacing. The point is, I really feel like Jurassic Park needs to go back to horror. I know it wouldn't fix everything, but I think it would definitely help the franchise for future projects. I see a lot of new Jurassic Park stuff, and it's clear they don't want that scare factor. It takes fan projects to do that now. Imagine if they had the full backing of Universal, what some of these independent creators or some of these people could do, or the things that they could create. Like, wow, even the games that get released nowadays don't really have a scare factor or a horror vibe unless there's one that I've missed. Let me know, because I know there's fan games, but again, those are fan made, not officially licensed products. Compared to back then, sure, you had some kid friendly games, but there were some that had horror vibes in them. They still had that horror vibe in some of them. We don't have that now. And again, I miss that horror vibe that Jurassic Park had. Whew. Well, that took a long time. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but yeah, I just wanted to. I don't know. I just wanted to. I know I've been gone for quite a while. I do apologize that I've been gone for pretty much what's almost going to be now 3 months. I am hoping to. I'm not gonna sit here and promise that. Oh, you're gonna start getting more content, boys. You wait, boy. You're gonna be getting more. Nah, I don't know. I'm gonna try. I am going to try to make more videos because I actually really enjoyed doing this. Actually, but I really wanted to come back with a big project. I didn't want to come back just with another news videos. I don't hate doing the news videos. I like doing them, and I know I've missed a lot. The James Gunn DC stuff. There's been a lot of developments with Marvel. Victoria Alonso just got fired. So I know there's been a lot of stuff that has been going on that I probably should have been talking about. Same with a lot of stuff in movie news and with Star Wars. So I've definitely missed a lot of that. I might wrap it up later, or I might do like some videos. And there's still some videos that I still are on the burner that I need to make. But I at least wanted to come back with this one because I was actually very passionate about this specific topic because I love Jurassic Park and I'm a big horror fan. And so for me, I felt like Jurassic Park had that element and now it doesn't anymore. And I absolutely fucking miss it, very much. So I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really hope that maybe you guys could see my perspective. Maybe you guys have more, or maybe drop your takes in the comments down below, or let me know on Twitter, at me at the Cinema Seeker. Just let me know, because I hope I'm not the only one like in this boat that Jurassic Park, I feel like, just isn't scary anymore, and I feel like bringing that horror vibe back would kind of help the franchise a bit. Like I said, I wouldn't fix everything, but I think it would definitely make it a lot more like akin to the way it used to be, not just focusing on the action and the whimsical nature of dinosaurs, because like I said, dinosaurs can also be pretty scary too. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope I can do more. I hope to see you next time. And you know what? Let's not say hope. I'll see you next time. Love you all. Love y'all guys. Thanks for 60 subscribers. I know that's not a lot, but that is still very much appreciated, especially people who are now subscribing despite the long gap, or the people who've been hanging on. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome, and y'all deserve the best. So, thank you so much. I'll see you next time.